Okay, we're in feudal Japan. And maybe, you know what else? Maybe just for a second, would you stop hating on Assassin's Creed Shadows? Because let me tell you. What's going on, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. So, yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows. So far, I've put almost about 20 hours into the game, 25 or so, on Xbox Series X. And my very first start, when I was only 30 minutes in, I was like, wow, this is a lot of dialogue and, a pretty slow start. If you'd like to, I don't think you can, but if you were comparing it to, say, the opening of Ghost of Tsushima, yeah. Of course, I was slightly comparing it to, the jaw-dropping opening of Tsushima, of course, but I kept going even though it was slow, as I said. Jumping into the gameplay, once I got into the gameplay, finally, I was impressed. Not blown away, but, impressed. They slowly and organically build the narrative as to why you are playing as Yasuke and Naoe, and that's perfectly fine. And like I said, it feels organic the way they do it. The control scheme is pretty standard and easy to understand. My only gripe, I guess, with the controls was it seemed annoying to switch between my tools and, what allies I wanted to use in a fight. Now, when I say that, I really mean just when I'm fighting. That's pretty much it. When I wasn't in a fight, it seemed fine to me. Another example maybe is when, I'd accidentally hit right bumper to quick throw a kunai blade instead of holding the trigger to aim it. But again, it's just little stuff, just, stupid, not really a big deal at all. The controls are completely fine. The mechanics, Ubisoft mentions this. They say each equipment piece has stats that can affect key game mechanics such as base weapon attacks, posture attacks, critical damage, and many more. It will be up to you to find synergies between gear, weapons, and skills to embrace your favorite way to play. Okay, so this to me, honestly, it just seemed like the standard Assassin's Creed experience over the past few years. The only thing it did for me was, annoy me that, how much gear I was picking up that I did not need. The only thing I could do with it was sell it for Mon, the in-game currency, or salvage it for materials back at my hideout, which you'd think, okay, well, duh, of course. You have to have things to pick up in the game. Yes, but it just seemed a little bit excessive to me outside of the legendary chests. I want the legendary gear, right? Of course, we all do. But I just felt as though going through the game, I was picking up so much gear that I'm like, yep, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. And it just kind of got repetitive and annoying. Like I said, there was never a time when I found a random piece of gear that wasn't in a chest, a legendary chest, that I got excited about. Just another piece of equipment, like I said, that I got to go get it out of my inventory to, satisfy my OCD for materials or Mon. One thing, though, that I did like is that when you find a piece of gear, you unlock its cosmetic changes permanently, right? So, meaning if you unlock better gear, but you don't like the way it looks, you can modify it infinitely in your inventory menu, which is really nice. So, jumping into the progression. The progression in the game is cool, where you're heavily encouraged to obtain knowledge points on the map. These can be acquired by doing many side activities between the two characters, such as finding lost pages in temples, taking time to pray in shrines, doing some kujikiri meditation for Naoe, or learning new kata for Yasuke. Once you've obtained enough, back to that kata. Right when I did that, I was like, yeah, this is like Guitar Hero for Yasuke. That is stupid. But it was okay. Once you've obtained enough knowledge points, you can increase the tiers of your skill trees, which you'll then be using mastery points to obtain those. So, overall, the progression system seems fine. It's nothing new or nothing we haven't seen before, but, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say it's bad either. It's not like it's Valhalla where, I'm 20 hours, 25 hours into the game and I'm level 200, which, that's unrealistic, but you get the point. So maybe I felt this way because I was wandering off the beaten path a lot, but I felt as though I was obtaining knowledge points way faster than I was leveling up, it was kind of frustrating at first because I didn't know what I was doing wrong. But like I said, I think that was probably because I was veering off the main quest a lot in the beginning because I want to look and see everything and go check something out, it's like I have ADHD in this game, or any open world game where I'm like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? So that's what I'm doing. And that was probably, I guess, quote unquote, what I was doing wrong, if you'd say it was wrong. But yeah. Let's talk about the combat. So the combat in AC Shadows I thought was really fun, a lot of fun. The difference between Naue and Yasuke is glaringly apparent, as they obviously wanted it to be, and I didn't think that was bad at all. Yes, Yasuke is not your typical AC character, but instead of hating on the character, I chose to look at him from a different light, in the sense that he's a good break from the stealth in the game. Okay, maybe you're all stealthed out, which, yes, may be difficult in an AC game, right? But maybe you want to just go into a temple and completely annihilate the place. Not stealthily, right? You don't want to assassinate everybody. You just want to go in and just start chopping dudes' heads off. Cool. Go ahead and do that with Yasuke. It's fun, and like I said, a break from your Shadow stealth gameplay that Naue offers. Being an Assassin's Creed game, it's obvious why we all prefer Naue, right? But again, Yasuke, if you'd so choose, is a good break from it when you would need one or want one, like I said. So overall, the combat to me was a pretty bright part of the game. The combat's pretty fun. Moving on to the story. So the game takes place in the final decades of the Sengoku period. I hope I'm saying that right. Focusing on two separate protagonists, the shinobi assassin Naue and the samurai Yasuke. Starting as sworn enemies, fighting for two different sides, the heroes become unlikely allies in a fight against one common enemy. And that's really all I want to say, because if you haven't played the game, I'd like you to experience it for yourself, going back to what I said about the two protagonists meeting in a very organic way. So, as we've discussed already, the characters in the game, Naue and Yasuke, they're very, very different. I'll go over them briefly, the brief basis on what I've learned so far. But if you want to find some of this out on your own in-game, please skip this section of the review, because I don't want to spoil anything. So skip to the next thing I'd talk about is the dialogue. You could just skip to the dialogue part. Anyways, for those of you that would like to hear, Naue is someone that just wants peace and wellness, really. But she's thrust into a fight that she doesn't necessarily want to be in, but is facing because she wants vengeance, right, for what happened. She represents her home of Iga very well, and she wears her heart on her sleeve. At least I thought, I think that she does. Yasuke, he's a foreigner that was taken from his home at a young age, and he survived an attack on a slave ship, and he ended up in the service of none other than Oda Nobunaga, okay, which you meet him very early on in the game. Now, again, I don't want to go, like I said, too much in detail about the characters, but Yasuke's past and how he becomes a samurai was pretty damn cool, I gotta say. Okay, so moving on to the dialogue. The dialogue in the game, it's not bad, but the acting can sometimes feel dry and emotionless, which, not talking about the game as a whole, Valhalla, how much of that felt, above this? Really a lot of open world games, where the dialogue is kind of like dry. I don't really know how else to word it, but you know what I mean. It just seems kind of like it's just generic acting. But, during pre-rendered cutscenes, it felt a little better. But the in-game cutscenes were just so, like I said, in my opinion, just emotionless. Nothing that is going to, make me steer clear from the game. But overall, they didn't do a bad job of making me feel some type of connection to the characters, even with the side activities around the world. So, although the dialogue in the game can feel a little daunting at times, for the most part, I would say the storytelling, dialogue, it all felt pretty good. Moving on to the world. So the world, this is going to bear with me. So the world of Assassin's Creed Shadows, it feels amazing, okay? I'm not going to talk about how they wanted to be more accurate to Japan and how they tried to be more authentic, simply because I'm not someone that knows anything about Japan's authenticity to really understand this, okay? I don't know anything about Japanese history, so I can't say, yeah, you guys nailed it, or no, this is too far off. I can't really speak on that, okay? So I'll just say that right off the bat. But, I'd say it's safe for me to assume that Japan during this time period isn't just a rich, rural landscape full of cherry blossoms. but I'm talking about a video game, guys. A video game. Okay, let that sink in. Okay? This is a video game. Video games are forms of art. Okay? Art is subjective. If you don't like something, okay, because it's subjective, just move on. Okay, don't let it affect your day. Just move on. You think Assassin's Creed Shadows is dumb? Great, move on. You love Assassin's Creed Shadows? Awesome, move on. You know what I mean? So this was something that I felt it was going to be kind of hard to talk about because on one hand, like I was kind of saying, if you like the world, you're wrong, right? Because Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't being authentic to Japanese culture or being historically accurate. Okay, and then on the other hand, if you don't like the world, you're a hater. And AC Shadows deserves hate, and we can go just on and on and on about the nuances, and it's just, I don't know, I think it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help me, it doesn't help really anybody. If you just don't like it, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all. Just move on. So, again, with all that being said, and just keeping in mind that, again, we're talking about a video game, me, personally, I liked the game. I liked the game world and its atmosphere. That's all I would say. I thought it was quite strange, though, okay, to kind of change direction. I thought it was kind of strange that deer were all over the roads, okay, versus more so in the woods. I mean, I can't tell you if you could kill deer by running over deer. I killed a lot of Bambis, okay? It's kind of an epidemic. There's a lot of deer in the roads. But again, all jokes aside, nonetheless, you know, the game looks beautiful. Each time I climbed to the top of a synchronization point, the views were just always breathtaking to me. But I mean, it's an Assassin's Creed game. Of course it is. The vistas in the game, of course they're beautiful. So again, Shadows overall is a very beautiful game. The world's gorgeous. Going on to graphics or performance. So, you know, again, we hit on the graphics, but the performance side of things, I played the game on my Xbox Series X, as I stated, and I had no issues. Some small, you know, quality of life bugs here and there, but that was about it. I read online that a lot of people were experiencing frame rate issues in the hideout. You know, I didn't look to see if that was PS5, Xbox, but I don't know, PC, but I don't think I've messed around enough, me personally, in the hideout, you know, as far as improving it to experience any of that so far. And maybe it was in there, I just didn't realize it. One bug, though, that made my OCD, back to my OCD, almost jump out of my skin was the fact that as soon as I unlocked Yasuke, and I had to clarify online that this was a bug because it was driving me nuts, that attention icon will not go away above the inventory tab. You know what I mean? Just letting you know, hey, you got a piece of gear in here. You unlock Yasuke, and that damn icon, dude, just stays there. Hated it. So I must have looked in my inventory seriously for like an hour trying to get this damn thing to go away. Wouldn't go away. But yeah, then I found out it's a bug. Okay, moved on. We're good to go. Hopefully they fix it, though. Lastly, though, I'd say that since we can lay down on roofs, okay, we should also be able to roll over or crawl over the ridge on the roof. I don't know if they'd want to do that via animation or you just kind of go over it, kind of like they generically walk up a set of like a staircase, something. But since you have to stand up and go over it, it 100% ruins the stealth in the game, the immersion to stealth, because when you get to the top, if you're almost being spotted, then I have to completely stand up or crouch, get over it, and then lay back down. Not a bug, but again, something that they could, you know, put into a quality of life update. So all in all, I'd say my personal experience with the performance has been good. And I would hope so, you know, given the fact that they delayed the game for so long, I would hope that the performance is good. But yeah. Going to the sound. The music in the game is exceptional. But I mean, let's be real. Assassin's Creed never really misses the mark when it comes to the music. You know, it reminded me of Quentin Tarantino a lot, like watching the Kill Bill movies. That's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the music was, wow, you know, I want to watch a Kill Bill movie, or all the Kill Bill movies again, seriously. The sound effects in the game are also very well done. Riding your horse, you know, through a forest, listening to the wind, rifle through the trees, looks and also feels great. Coming to the top of a hillside as it's practically raining sideways sounded as good as hearing the drizzling rooftops drip as I climbed to the top of a synchronization point. Just excellent. Katanas clanking together, the ugly sound of a throat getting split wide open were all the more satisfying each time I fought. So there was a point where I heard a Teppo get shot in the distance, and I heard the crack of the rifle through the trees. Dude, I I was mesmerized right away when I heard that.
Good shinobi once learned their mysterious craft.
Did you hear the crack of that gunshot, dude? Listen to that. Took a second. I just stopped. I think I was about to talk to an NPC. And I was like, wait a minute, was that a gunshot? And then I waited for a second and I heard it again. And just that distant sound of the tempo going off it was awesome. So where I think the game is at its best is listening to the wildlife. Hearing two bucks spar in a field as Naoe attempts to paint them was special to me. That's neat. Drive those feet.
Perfect.
It's such a cool thing to hear in a game like this. So very, very well done with the sound effects. So all in all, guys, to end this, cap this off, I think I've hit on a couple. I've hit it on a couple of times in my playthrough so far. If you guys have watched any of those, I think AC Shadows is 100% a game you should try for yourself, especially if you love the IP. If you don't really know anything about Assassin's Creed, which would be tough, I guess, or you're just not a big Assassin's Creed fan, I don't know if I'd spend $70 on it. Maybe wait until it goes down to, say, 40, goes on sale, something like that. Play it on Game Pass, anything. I whatever the case may be, I just don't know if I would tell you or justify a reason to spend full price on the game if you're not sure. If you have any doubt in your mind, I would not spend $70 on the game. Do I think it deserved all the hate? No, absolutely not. But I also think it would depend on who you're asking. I'm not someone that is going to hate on something because someone else is, and I'm also not someone that's going to love a game just because IGN or somebody else gave it a 10 out of 10. I'm not saying that IGN gave Assassin's Creed Shadows a 10 out of 10. I think they gave it an 8. Okay, but regardless, if somebody says something's great, I'm not going to think it's great. I got to try it myself before I can give my own opinion on it. I'm not just going to conform to whatever somebody else tells me. So all I'm doing, especially, being a small content creator, currently is giving you my honest and being as transparent as I can with you, giving you this feedback on a AAA title. That's all I'm doing. So with that being said, I think I would give AC Shadows. It was tough. I'd say I put a 7 out of 10, but it was a toss-up between a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. Regardless, I think whichever one that you choose. No, you know what? I'm going to stick with the 7 because if we're using like a grading scale that you'd use in school, A, B, C, D, F, a 7 out of 10 would be a 70, right? And that's a C. Okay, I think that's fine. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows would deserve a C. Maybe pushing it a B-. I don't know, but I think a 7 out of 10 is fair. I think it does a lot of things well, and as you heard me mention, but I don't think it does anything to bring this beloved franchise back to its form like we thought it would. Was it a step in the right direction? It's hard to say. I really don't know, but I wouldn't chalk up AC Shadows as being, one of the worst titles Ubisoft has ever created. I think that's just far-fetched. This game has a lot to offer and experience, but I think it could have done way better given the fact that it was delayed for so long, multiple times. If this video, guys, if it helped you in any way with AC Shadows, then I'm glad I could help you guys. Go ahead, smash that like button for me. Consider maybe subscribing to my channel. As I'm slowly approaching that 1,000 subscriber milestone, which is really exciting. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.